Welcome back to Confinement Stories. I hope you're well and keeping safe. Today we are going to Ireland. I spoke to Céline, who moved to Dublin 14 years ago. We explore city life, what people are doing to look out for each other, whether or not we're spending too much time on Zoom, and the importance of enjoying the quieter times. Just after this. So, Céline, welcome to Confinement Stories. Let me begin with two questions. Where are you and how are you doing?
Hello, thanks for the interview. That's a good idea. That's very nice. So I'm in Dublin. I live in Dublin city centre. I've been living here for the past 14 years almost. And I'm doing good, considering. So I'm working from home. I live with my cat, and yeah, no, I'm doing quite good. The weather has been nice in Ireland, which is both a shame and a good thing, because you always want the sunshine, and when you want to go out and you can't, it's not always ideal. Sometimes you were like, oh, if it was raining it'd be better, but no, I still managed to go out for walks. And so obviously the city centre is very quiet. Everything's closed, like apart from supermarkets and pharmacies, but the life of Ireland, which is its pubs, are all closed, so that's a bit awkward. And if you walk along the street, you just find that they all still have their St. Patrick's Day decoration and paintings on the windows. So it just looks like you're stuck in time when you just walk through the city centre, but the suburbs are a bit more lively, like people just go out for the walks. And yeah, so officially we're still on lockdown until the 18th of May, so that's will be next Monday, and we're waiting to see if really the restrictions are going to start to be eased or not.
Yes. So so you said it's been 14 years.
Mm-hmm.
So where were you before, and what was the reason for coming all the way to Dublin?
So before I was in France, in Normandy, where I'm from, and I came to Dublin for work. That was after I graduated. I looked for a job. I didn't have Ireland in mind necessarily. I just wanted to go abroad, I think. So I applied to various different places, and it just happened to be Ireland. I thought I'd come here for 2 years and just never left. So that's it.
Yeah, another feeling. I came over to the UK for 1 year, nearly 30 years ago now.
Okay, well, there you go.
To finish my exams. Just 1 year. Finish my exam, then I'll be back. And then one more year, one more. And then before you know it, you make a life for yourself there.
Yeah, that's it. And I mean, France is still near. Usually we can go back whenever we want. That's not the case at the moment, obviously. But it's near enough that we're close to our families, and there's no time difference. So just 1 hour is nothing. And yeah, we can go back there quite quickly. So that's it's a nice thing. It's a nice place to be.
Yeah, that's very much so. I mean, as I mentioned to you just before we started the recording, I'd been to Ireland before work, so I'm there, then I leave again. I don't even stay because it's so close that you don't feel the need to stay overnight and so on. So, I mean, for those of us around the world that are perhaps not familiar with Dublin, what can you tell us about the city and what it's got to offer? So once we are all allowed to travel again, we can maybe pay a visit.
Yeah, so Dublin is the capital of Ireland. It's not necessarily representative of Ireland in itself, like any capital city would be. It's very different to the west of Ireland, for instance, which is more rugged and more like traditional maybe, but Dublin is a nice melting pot of everything. It's very multicultural. It's very lively. It's got a great nightlife, lots of activities. The best part about it, I think, is like it's not too big. For me, like for instance, I couldn't live in London. That's way too big. But Dublin is just it's human. It stays human, and you're very near the sea. You're very near the mountains. They're not that high, but we call them mountains anyway. And you're near the countryside. It's got very good links with the rest of Europe and the rest of the world. And people are just really, really friendly. They're really lovely people.
When you first arrived, obviously 14 years ago, how did you find the local accent? Was it difficult to, at the beginning?
No, no, it was okay with it. I'd say if I'd moved to different parts, like there's so many different accents in Ireland. Maybe in different parts I would have struggled a bit more, but the Dublin accent to me sounds kind of neutral. Maybe it may not sound neutral to you. I don't know, but to me it's easy enough to understand. Obviously, it depends who you're talking to and where you're going, but no, I didn't struggle. Plus, with my work, I've always worked a lot in an international environment, so I'm kind of used to very different accents, and I work in French a lot as well. So
Yeah, no, I would agree with you. I mean, and I suppose you and I can reflect that we've had to learn to listen very carefully. So, in a way, I could be with some English friends who may struggle with accent from Scotland or even from where I live in the northeast of England. But because I'm so attentive, I kind of understand perhaps sometimes more than my British pals.
yeah, sometimes that's quite true actually. Yeah, and you start understanding which accent is from where as well, which is it's always a nice thing to be able to spot that. You go, oh, I'm almost local.
So before the lockdown, and we'll come back to that. I mean, 14 years there. Are there some spots in Ireland that you like to visit and go to?
The west of Ireland in general
Okay.
is just because of the wilderness and the sea, and again, like the more maybe traditional pubs, that sort of thing. It's just very beautiful. For French people, it looks a bit like Brittany in places.
Hmm.
And yeah, like so, County Mayo is one of my favorite ones, just because it's so beautiful, and Connemara as well, Kerry, the whole coast there is really nice.
No, very much so. I mean, I visualize it through documentaries and photos, and really, I realize it's shameful that after 30 years living in the UK, I've not visited this part, properly.
It's not
Um,
near you as well. Like the flights are so short.
You're absolutely right. It was always work. So I went to Dublin or Belfast,
Mhm.
but it was always land, taxi, meeting, taxi, and fly back again. And really,
Yeah,
with hindsight, I should have just said stay for the weekend or
stay for
organize
the
myself
weekend.
better. Mm,
Next time when you can travel again, stay for the weekend. Yeah, like you mentioned, Belfast, Northern Ireland is also really nice.
mm,
The coast there is quite pretty as well. And Belfast, I quite enjoyed that city too.
sure. I mean, out of interest, have you visited other part of the UK yourself?
I've lived in Brighton for a year.
Okay, right.
I've done my Erasmus there, and so
Mm,
while I was there, I just kind of visited different places. I went to London a good few times, obviously, because it's so near Brighton. I went to Scotland on a holiday. I don't really know the north of England itself. I'd love to go to the Lake Districts.
mm.
Um, 'Cause,
I highly recommend it. Yes.
yeah, it just seems so nice. I've never been to Wales either, and it really is across the sea from here. So I really should go, like, because by boat it's really like close and handy.
Right.
Never been there, so yeah, and I've been to Devon as well a few times, because a lot of places in Normandy would be twinned with villages in Devon,
I see.
and so yeah, went there as well.
The one part of England I've not been is Cornwall. I'd like to go there. I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd
because
say.
again, I think the landscapes and the sea would be just absolutely stunning.
Yeah, it looks beautiful, and I don't think it would be too crowded as well. So
You can tell we've been locked down for a while. We keep talking about going places.
yeah, going to the beach, like now in Ireland, we're allowed to go up to 5 kilometers away from our homes. So I'm hoping to get my bike and cycle to the beach, because I now have access to one beach, so I can go there. I'm hoping to do that this weekend.
So I've lost track of time, I must confess. So don't feel bad if you can't answer the question. But how many weeks has it been now for you in terms of this lockdown, this confinement?
So for me, it's been since St. Patrick's weekend, because I was
That
in Paris. St. Patrick's weekend, so that was mid-March. So when I came back, I self-isolated voluntarily, just for safety reasons. So I stayed at home, and then the lockdown was officially, I think, end of last week of March.
Yeah, I mean, we came back the day of the lockdown ourselves on 24th of March. That was,
Yeah,
for the for England
I
suddenly.
think
Yeah.
the UK was on lockdown slightly earlier than Ireland, but Ireland had started closing its schools and from, I think, the first week of March, if I'm not mistaken, and then just like shops and restaurants and pubs, they kind of started shutting down by themselves. Like they didn't ask for people to tell them to do it. So yeah, and then some pubs stayed open and a lot of people went, and then they just decided, okay, just lock down. But a lot of people, I think, were quite like sensible in that respect and just
Of course.
shut down themselves. So it's been like officially, so we got 2 weeks first, and then they added another 3 weeks, and then another 2 weeks. So we're at the end of the last 2 weeks, hopefully, and now it's going to be a phased deconfinement, hopefully, if it goes well. I think we've got 5 phases, and the last one starts August 10th. So it's a very long process for us. I feel that it might be longer than other countries in Europe. So
yeah, it's difficult to tell. I mean, I think everybody's having that kind of very slow, easing off of the restrictions. So, I mean, out of interest, what have you had to do personally to adapt, either through, life in general, but also work?
Work, not that much, to be honest, because I changed jobs back in November, but before that I was working from home a lot. So the only difference is, like, yeah, I had a team on site in Dublin in the city centre, and I still am training on some aspects of that new job. So it would be lovely to have my team near me. Also, like, well, for training, for the human contact as well. Like, it's just really enjoyable to go to the office and meet people. But I had already my setup. I had a second screen. I had everything I needed to work from home, and I was used to it because I'd been doing it for years. So in that regard, it didn't change that much. The only difference is really, obviously, before I was doing it by choice. And there's a little difference now. Like, it's easier to accept if that's your choice. If you've no choice, then it becomes like a bit of a chore. So that's it. And then the other adjustment really is just not seeing my friends and my partner, who lives in a different county.
Ah,
So
right.
not far away from Dublin, but it's still over the distance we're allowed. So that's the hardest bit, is just the lack of human contact. But apart from that, my life goes on almost as usual. I want to say is just, no, I go to the supermarket way earlier to avoid the queues on Saturdays. But apart from that, a lot of things are very similar. Like, I'm happy enough in my own company a lot of the time. So I'm never bored. Like,
No, I mean, as much as for me, I mean, work-wise, I've had a lot of cancellations because, as a trainer and speaker, of course, events have been cancelled. So I do some sessions online, but not nowhere near as many.
Yeah.
But I find it easy to occupy myself by projects like this one, or just learning new things and so on. I'm just curious, what is the new job or the new work that you're doing? I mean, you started in November, you said.
Yeah, I'm a localization specialist, so I'm a linguist on the internal team of a company. And so before that, I was also a linguist, but I was working on the vendor side. So it's just that, I need to learn about the company I work for and that sort of thing. But the job in itself is quite similar to what I was doing before. I've
Sure.
always been localization specialist, or like linguist or translator, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, because I was going to ask about the terminology. Is interesting, localization specialist. So, I mean, if there's such a thing as a typical week, what do you do when you are, when you have that occupation?
So we take care of all the contents that's in English to be localized into French. I'm saying localized because it needs to be not just translated, but also adapted to the markets, adapted to the target audience. So a lot of our content is outsourced to vendors, and I review it, and then I would just work on the glossary as well, the style guides, training different stakeholders in the company just to make sure that we all have the same kind of consistency in the voice of the company, and then just helping out other teams, working a good bit with the marketing team and support. And so like there's not a really typical week. It's just it's nice. It changes every time. You can work on web pages, you can work on ebooks, various offers, products, legal. So it's very interesting.
I bet, yes. No, excellent. So actually, you mentioned shopping, which is always, it's an important activity.
Yeah.
So when we came back, of course, there was nothing left in the shops. It took a while, but we got there in the end. So have the shops adapted? I would imagine, and what do you have to do in and around Dublin when you go shopping?
So the only shops that are open really are essentials, like shops for essentials. More shops will reopen on Monday, but really like DIY stores and gardening centers and those. So adapting, yes. So you now have to obviously like keep your distance. The social distancing bit is really, really like stressed upon everywhere you go. Like you've got marks now on the footpaths outside the shops, and you have to queue and just keep your distances. Inside the shops as well, they are like plexiglass and everything, like just to avoid like speed guards for cashiers and that sort of thing. You have special hours for people who are more vulnerable, the elderly. So you kind of try and shop around those hours just to avoid, like, you know, leave them their space. It's the same for parks, actually. Parks would be reserved for
Right.
Elderly people and people with like who are more at risk in the afternoon. So yeah, that's about it. The rest hasn't really changed that much for me. I'm just doing one big shop a week, and you know, like, so yeah, it's, again, I live in the city center, so I just walk to the shop. I go early to avoid queuing, because at the weekend there's still queues. I think last weekend there weren't any. I think people have kind of got used to it, and so that there were not going to be any shortages. So people have calmed down. But there was never any shortage of anything I wanted. Like, so there was no massive panic or rush or anything to just buy as much as you could.
No, that's good. But as you mentioned, you know, when we started the conversation, when somewhere is very quiet, it's both pleasant but unsettling at the same time, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some places are. I live by a canal, so along the canal, that's where people go for their walks. So sometimes it can feel a bit too crowded. And then as soon as you move in, like, side streets, it's just really eerily quiet, to the point that it's a bit, like, it is a bit nerve-wracking. Like, you just think, okay, that's really odd, there's nobody here. And yeah, you can almost imagine like the tumbleweed going. So yeah, it's really one or the other at the moment. So it is kind of weird. And it's nice not to have traffic. That's one of the good aspects, and you do really hear the birds more. So.
Do you know, everybody said the same that I've had the pleasure of talking to. They get used to the quieter surroundings, and they're almost thinking, I hope, you know, that we can at least maintain some of that, because they do feel that if it went back to the full traffic of buses, cars, sometimes aircraft, it would be a little overwhelming, which just shows, you know, what you can get used to. I feel the same, even though I live in a very rural area.
Yeah, no, in the city, it has gone really quiet in terms of noise, which, yeah, it is pleasant. I'm not gonna lie, like, it's nice to have less traffic when you walk past.
Yeah.
And,
although I've got to tell you, because where we live, birds starts to sing at about 4:30 in the morning sometimes.
Well, yeah, it's coming
and
into summer now,
they're
so
very happy at the moment.
Yeah, I know. It's the same here now, to be honest, because where we live, the sun rises really early in the summertime.
Mm.
So yeah, that wakes the cat up. She's wondering what's going on.
There's one thing I wanted to ask you because part of what is happening, this crisis, it invites people to actually show a positive side of themselves, to show kindness, to show generosity, sometimes to show really ingenuity about how they're coping with it. Now, I know enough about Ireland to know that people there are very hospitable. They
Mm-hmm.
enjoy life. They're a fun bunch. So have you seen or been told about people who are doing something to help maybe the local community, who are making the best of what we have at the moment?
Yeah, I think what I've seen messages on the street was people like putting signs saying, "Hey, my number is that. If you need help shopping, if you need help collecting anything, just give me a call. That's free. I'll do it for you." But you also get there's a helpline for people who need things, and also for people who want to volunteer doing this. So I think that's a good thing. There's a lot of generosity when it comes to charities because obviously they've lost out a lot because they can't go out and collect money. So they're doing like appeals during like popular TV programs, and I think people donate a good bit. So there's that, and also like in terms of general positive message, you see on TV there are ads, on the radio there are ads as well to tell you like, oh, we're here because of all your efforts and we're doing like quite good. If you hadn't done all those sacrifices, we would be a lot worse off. So it is a kind of positive thing, but I think people are getting a bit wary of it at this stage.
Mm.
So they kind of need to reinforce that we're all in this together, and so. But yeah, people are being positive. I think it's very Irish as well. Like they're a lot more optimistic maybe and than other countries. And
I've seen examples where we live where adults, grown-ups, got all dressed up in funny characters, maybe famous cartoon characters or
okay,
superheroes, and they walk around waving at kids,
oh,
stuck
that's nice.
indoors or in their
Yeah,
gardens. That's very funny.
that's nice.
And you've got kids who do drawings and they put them on the fence,
Yeah, we
and
have
then
that as well.
and
They put
people
on the
stop
windows.
and they stop, and then because they stop, the kids are then waving at the window back at them, to get praises for their drawings. But
Mm,
people play music and so on. But yeah, you're right. This we've had people dropping cards through the door saying, if you need any help with shopping, let me
yeah,
know. So
yeah. This is nice. Like, because that sort of thing can either like bring out the worst of people or the best of people,
yeah,
and it's like especially these days as you get a lot of bad news and it's just like every day you get the death toll and you got all that. It's nice to have nicer things as well, like more positive.
quite. And as you know, that was the inspiration for this series, because I think you're right. I mean, I get just enough of the news to know about where we are in
Mhm.
progress, but I watch a lot less than I used to at the very beginning.
I'm the same as you. I've kind of cut down on the newspaper, and the TV news. I will watch the main news from the main national channel,
Hmm.
but not every day. And like really, when I know that there's an announcement that's going to be made, obviously I watch it. But I try and keep away from it and keep away from social media, which I try and do anyway, because I'm not a big like. I try and keep my profile there to a
Sure.
minimum, and just I try and avoid it because you can get like sucked in it, and it's just not very pleasant.
Yeah, I mean, for me, social media, but it's mostly for work, and then after
Hmm.
that is close friends only,
Yeah.
and usually we're all in the same wavelength where we just want to put something funny
Hmm.
that tickles you. So at the moment, people are having great fun with masks. I'm not sure what it's like where you are, but we're going to have to wear masks when we go into public spaces, and people are just inventing those really
Yeah.
funny masks.
Yeah. Here it's not clear yet whether it's going to be a recommendation, which it seems to be at the moment when you go to enclosed places and public transport, or if it's going to be made compulsory. We don't know yet because we're still on lockdown, so we don't know if it's going to be like, compulsory. I'd say more and more people are gonna start wearing them anyway. I've started making my own, just like that keeps me busy as well.
Okay, so how do you make them?
So I followed one of the French patterns from like one of the standard recommended. I forget. I think it's the AFNOR one. And like I just hand sew it because I don't have a sewing machine. That just keeps me busy, and if when we fly again, we'll probably be needing them. So
Yes, I mean, for me, as you can imagine, I had plans to be in France regularly this year. In fact, for the whole month of May, at the time of recording this, we were meant to be in Brittany. So my family, well, is spread all over France, but we usually congregate towards Nantes. And I've got a small office in Saint-Nazaire, if you know the area vaguely. Yeah. And so I've had to kind of let go of that plan. And in fact, I'm not making any plans anymore because otherwise I'll just get upset about just not being there. In fact, in my calendar this week, on Monday, I was meant to be in Saint-Nazaire for an event. I was like, because, but so I suspect you spend quite a bit of time doing video calls with your family.
Yes, to an extent. I think I'm like everybody else as well. Like I'm kind of getting Zoom fatigue, because at work I have a lot more meetings, obviously, via Zoom rather than in person. So I do keep contact with my family, but it's the same as before because I've been away for so long. So with some people I'm used to it and it's fine. Like friends I catch up with regularly or in different countries, so that hasn't changed. It's more with the friends I have here in Dublin that we would tend to have more video call with them. But with my family, it's to the same level as before, I think. Yeah.
So for me, my parents have discovered Messenger.
Okay.
So I'm getting video calls all the time now.
Okay.
And sometimes I've got nothing to say because, well, nothing has happened, right?
Nothing has happened, yeah.
Or the same as yesterday and the same as the day before.
Yeah.
So not only do I get video calls, I mean, my parents may watch this video and they may see the subtitles, but never mind. So not only am I getting video calls all the time, sometimes I'm working, if that makes sense, and I'm not very good at just stopping to then get on with a social call. Another time I've got not much to say. But also, bless them, they're having difficulty using the mobile phone. So sometimes they're talking to me, but they have the front camera switched on. So I'm looking at the wall or their feet, right? And I'm like, Mom, can you turn it around and so on? Yeah. So I've given up. So as a surprise, I bought them the Facebook portal.
Okay.
So I say, if you just put it there, and maybe it's a mistake because they may ring me, contact me more often, but at least the image will be right.
At least you see them, yeah. You won't see like the ceiling or something or their ear.
I agree with you. Particularly work-wise, I try to be. Sometimes I use the phone instead. For my clients or associates, saying, don't have to have a Zoom call for everything. But I will say that I feel like I'm in contact more regularly, and I'm doing less and less emails.
Okay.
I'm not a big now at the moment as well because I'm trying to do other things in my time. I don't want to be at my computer just doing emails all day long. So it's kind of interesting how things are changing.
Yeah. No, for me they haven't really changed that much. Apart from the people who are here who I would meet like face to face on a regular basis. With them it has changed, but with my family and my friends who are in different countries, that hasn't really changed that much. Like, and I've been having Skype calls with my mum for years at this stage. So yeah, my brother is the same. My brother used to live in the US, so we just like is in France now at the moment. But so yeah, we're kind of used to it. It was not new. So
yeah, I mean, as much as we're having a bit of a moan, we're lucky because if it had been 30, 40 years ago, you and I would have been in the UK, and well, I remember I used to use public phones then.
Yeah.
And you could have a 30-second conversation before all your coins
All your coins went.
go.
Yeah, when I was doing my Erasmus, I was using public phones as well. Yeah, so
And then, would you send a letter a week to say I'm okay? But then by the time it's arrived, so
that's
no,
true. No, it is definitely a good thing. Like it makes things a lot
yeah,
easier in some
absolutely.
lot of aspects. Yeah.
Now, listen, sadly, our time together has come to an end. It's gone very, very quick. It always does.
That's,
Always
yeah.
very sad. So before we kind of go our separate ways, I've got a fun quiz for you
Okay.
to take part in. Simple questions.
Okay.
I want you to imagine that you won the prize of the best confinee in Dublin 2020. Well,
Okay.
I'm saying only 20. I hope it won't happen again. But so you won a few prizes as the best confinee, in Dublin. So prize number one, tonight you can order any food you want. What would be your lockdown meal?
I'm dying for a big juicy burger and a pint, so I'd get that.
No, really?
Yeah.
Not even some like really nice French dish or whatever. Just
No, I would get that. Like if I need to eat it at home, then I would just rather get like some big like pub grub or something.
so
French
to our viewers and listeners, Céline has been in Dublin so long that what she's dying for now is a burger and a beer. Wow.
Yeah, but no, if I want to go to a French restaurant, I'd just rather have like the proper setting and everything and eat like in one of them that has a terrace or something
All
with
right, then let's try that. So, if you could go to a French restaurant in
Mhm.
France, in Normandy, maybe, so what would
Yeah.
be then? What would you order?
Oh, steak tartare.
Mm, yeah, yeah, very, very good
Probably it
choice.
is. A nice piece of meat or something cooked in cream, probably.
Mm, yes, absolutely.
Oh, seafood.
Yeah, yeah. I miss that actually. I mean, we can buy seafood, but one thing I miss a lot because when we go to Brittany, I love langoustine, and I miss that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. We could do a whole show about food, but next prize. Oh yeah, this has been a good competition for you. So next prize, after your meal, you're gonna have a private concert. So your favorite band or favorite musical artist is gonna essentially play for you. You can invite some friends as well if you want. So who would be the band or the artist for this private concert?
Huh. Do you know what? I was supposed to go to a Killers concert
All
next month,
right.
but
Wow.
it's been postponed for a year, so I would say them. Uh, and then if I want to pick somebody more local, I would just go for U2, just because they're just like so near it.
Okay, well, Killers and you too,
Yeah.
you've heard it here. If you want to get in touch with Céline, please do so. Next question. I realized that you don't want to have too many Zoom calls. However, if you could have a Zoom call with a celebrity or a personality, that could be anyone alive or in history, who would that be?
That's too hard to answer that. I don't know. Who would it be? I've no idea. Either
Okay.
it's at the same time nobody comes to mind and too many people come to mind.
Okay, so give me a handful then. Maybe we can ask the organizers if you can have more than one person.
Um, Jesus, no, actually, I don't know. I would, I know I would need more time. Call me back
That's all
tomorrow.
right. Now, clearly, you've had far too many Zoom calls. That's what it is. So these are, the prizes. That's all. There's no more. But I do have one more question for you. When obviously this is behind us and we're allowed to travel, what would be your dream destination? So where would you like to go that perhaps you've not been yet?
I was due to go to Norway this summer.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, for a wedding, which is not happening anymore.
Oh my goodness, this is
So
terrible.
hopefully next year it happens. So yeah, either Norway. I don't know, some place quite remote, like so the mountains maybe, or I want to say a beach, but it's gonna be crowded. Or maybe just go back home and see my family because at this stage I don't know when I'll be able to do that. So
Yes.
Normandy is my dream destination. There you go.
Excellent. Well, listen, we must find a way for this to be wrapped up so you can get married at least. I mean, this is terrible.
Not me, not my wedding. A friend
Oh,
of mine.
sorry, I beg your pardon. A friend of yours.
A friend of mine. Yeah.
All
So
right,
that's
I feel much better now.
no, it's not mine. It's not mine. A friend of mine. Yeah.
I
So,
thought you were quite relaxed about it, mind.
oh God. Yeah, I would have been. I would have been a lot more than that. No, I'm sorry for them, but we'll have a bigger party next year. So, yeah, there's so many weddings that have been cancelled this year that next year is going to be just a year of like weddings and partying and 2 years to fit into one.
Super. Now, listen, just before we say goodbye to each other, I was just wondering, this, will come to pass, as I mentioned a moment ago, this will be behind us. What would you like your memory to be, when you look back maybe at the end of the year or as soon as we can, when you look back at, this very strange period of time, what would you like your memory to be?
Probably that we all handled it well enough, considering like it is difficult time for a lot of people, but still like the people I talk to stay positive. So that's a nice thing. And then just a kind of slower pace at time as well. Like you can read more. You can just maybe be kinder to yourself in a way, just because you've more time. You don't rush around so much. So that is something that could continue, and it's something I would not want to let go of. Actually, just a slower pace at times. So yeah.
No, that makes sense, and I think you're just very much expressing and echoing the views and feelings of many, many people around the world. We've got to find a way for this to to kind of draw out lessons and inspiration for a different way forward for all of us.
Yeah, and it's a good thing for the environment as well. I wanted to say.
Yes, no, absolutely. I think there's going to be some very, very clear data and evidence of that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, listen, it's been an absolute pleasure spending time with you, albeit virtually.
Same here.
None at all. Thank you for adding to the Confinement Stories.
You're very welcome.
Can I just wish you the very best in everything that you want to do, and I hope to speak to you very soon.
Same here. Best to you as well and to your family.
Thank you. Bye bye for now.
Bye.